All right, let's talk about the cloud. It's someone else's computer. That's it. There's nothing magical about the resources that make up the cloud. They're not in the sky. They're just a bunch of computers in a windowless bunker somewhere in Virginia or Ohio, or you might not even care where, because you don't have to know in order to use it. So cloud computing refers to an architecture where your hardware and software needs are consumed like resources, like electricity, instead of being managed and administered by you. When you hear cloud infrastructure, that's referring to the actual hardware and software resources that make up your cloud computing architecture. I'm going to run you through two scenarios. One where you want to run a website totally by yourself, you want to do everything on your own and own the hardware, provision it, be responsible for all of it. And then we're going to talk about the same situation where you're taking advantage of the cloud. Alright, so option A, you do it yourself. You want to run a website that includes a web app. So you go out and you buy yourself a server. You plug it in at home to a reliable outlet with a surge protector, and you configure it, you get it all set up, and you start serving up your web app. Things are going well. People really like what you put out there. So your traffic keeps growing until your server can barely handle it. And so your requests start to take longer to serve back, and your website gets slow and laggy, and people are annoyed. So luckily you've been keeping good tabs on the growth of your site, and you crunch the numbers and you see that you're projected to keep growing for a while, so it might be worth it for you to double your server capacity. So you're like, all right, I'm going to buy a second one of these. I know that I'm growing still, and it's going to pay off in the future. People are going to keep, more and more people are going to keep coming to my site. So you order another server. 1 to, 55 business days later, your new hardware shows up. You unbox it, you plug it in next to your original server, you take a couple of hours and set it up the same way as that one, all the same configurations, and boom, you're ready for more traffic. Okay, so what comes next? Probably one of two things. Either you grow even more rapidly than expected, and soon enough, you find yourself facing the exact same problem. Or your growth doesn't keep up with the extra server power you just paid for, and you wasted some of your money. In either case, you've got to keep that extra hardware until either it's obsolete or you break it. Then, it's time to buy more hardware again. Let's say that hardware ran fine until it became obsolete, right? It's just time to upgrade. Well, maybe you can sell your old stuff to try and put some of that money toward new hardware, but to your surprise, nobody really wants to buy your vintage compute power. Here's another thought. What if your site only attracts users in the US right now? You've got to keep your servers running all night, every night, for those few people that want to use your site, because you know that it's not acceptable to have downtime every night. You're a professional. So you're like, okay, I'll leave them plugged in, I'll leave them on every night, but most of the time you see there's not a lot of traffic. There's maybe a couple of people from 1 to 5 a.m. using it, but you're paying to run the full server when you're using like 2 to 3% of the power it's capable of. All right, let's look at option B, where you handle the same situation, you deliver the same product, but using the cloud. Somebody else owns the hardware, so you just pay to use it as you need it. You can't spill a drink on it, you can't trip over the cord because you probably don't even know where it is. What if an earthquake hits the data center that usually serves up your site? Luckily, you thought ahead and provided multiple availability zones, so you don't even notice that your traffic's being served from Ohio instead of Virginia till you get back from the beach. And even then, you don't care because it's still behaving as you need it to behave. People are still able to access your site. Your traffic grows again? Good for you. You've got more compute power available to you in seconds, not weeks. And those nightly slumps? Your fancy new cloud infrastructure uses auto-scaling groups to shrink down to just the right size. There's no more wasted servers sitting idle while your users catch some Z's. This is beautiful. You've cut down on waste, you're paying for only what you use, and more power is always right there when you need it. How about the annoying process of configuring your new server to match your old server? You go through all the steps to get it just like you did before, only it's not just like you did before, because this time you forgot step 147 where you enable automatic security patching. That's not a problem anymore because you described your infrastructure as code. Let's face it, computers are really good at doing things the same way every single time. I don't even know that I brush the same side of my mouth first every morning. Let's leave this one to them. Okay, so things are scaling as we need. We've got more hardware available on demand. We're not paying for wasted server time. We got more reliability because we're in multiple availability zones. We don't have to buy or sell hardware anymore or wait for it to ship. So what I've described so far is basically the public cloud. So this is your Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, IBM is in this space. All of those are major players in the public cloud game, although they do offer services that leak into the next two categories as well. So there is such a thing as a private cloud, where your company's data center is responsible for providing all those great things I described before. This is really difficult to do right and really expensive to get wrong. So I'm going to recommend you leave it to the pros. Okay, so you might be thinking, I already have all this data on premise. You're crazy if you think I'm going to pay to move it all to the cloud. That's totally fine. It's completely normal to leave some of your stuff in-house, like your super sensitive data or your batch processing jobs, yuck, while you leave your more elastic, scalable, hardcore stuff to the cloud. In fact, this practice has a name. It's called the hybrid approach, and it's used by plenty of enterprise-level companies. Both of the Fortune 500 companies I've designed cloud infrastructure for in the last 18 months use this approach, and it's working great for them. All right, let's sum up. The cloud is just someone else's computer, or computers really. It's not in the sky, it's not made of magic, it's just a bunch of computers available to you when you need them, available to others when you don't. Using a cloud computing approach gets you all sorts of goodies, like letting somebody else deal with the administratory parts like buying and provisioning hardware while you deal with the parts you care about most. Making sure your product does what it's supposed to do. You pay only for what you use, and you can count on your services to remain available even when a disaster strikes one of the data centers. You don't have to go all in on public cloud. In general, I think extremes tend to be a little bit unhealthy. I don't recommend you try to do it completely yourself either. But if you want to find a middle ground where some things are managed in-house and other things take advantage of the scalability and cost savings of the cloud, that's fine. Many big companies do it, and it's often the smartest approach. So I hope this video has helped you to understand a little bit about what the cloud was, or maybe demystify it a bit. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more. We'd love to hear what was effective about this video and what you still have questions about. Anything you think could be more informative, leave a comment. If you've got questions or ideas for a future episode, we want to hear them. But most importantly, thanks for watching.